Well, hello and happy Tuesday. We are back in the saddle. We've had a little vacation time, but you know what time it is. It's time for Tuesday motivation and conversation. I'm just chatting it up with you tonight, and I hope that what I have to share is beneficial to you. A little bit of practical application tonight. Um, I'm always, whenever I travel, I'm always just mindful of my surroundings and things that are happening, and always observing of opportunities to tap into what it is that I do and who it is that I am. And so having that level of clarity helps me to really be in tune with those things that I think that'll be beneficial to those that I serve. And so that's always important for me as a coach and as a consultant, because it helps me to then serve the people that um, I deal with every day, and helps me to serve them better. And so, one of the things is that, it's always keeping in tune and in line with the thing that you are assigned to do. And so I talk about, and I have talked about, and you can go back and watch the YouTube video on this. Um, the A game. We have to always, number one, know our assignment. When we know what our assignment is and who we are assigned to, be in alignment with that assignment. And that kind of coincides with what I talk about when I say stay in your lane. Right. When we know what our lane is, when we drive in our lane, even when we're in traffic and we drive in our lane, it helps us to avoid accidents. But when we're distracted and we're, a little bit close to this lane and we're a little bit close to the next lane, or we're, kind of swerving into the next lane, that's what causes accidents. And it's the same way in life. When we don't drive in our lane, we can create unnecessary situations, and we can cause distractions that will derail us on our quest to manifestation of our vision. So once we're in alignment, we have to be in agreement with it. Agree with God about what it is He said about you, because that's important. And sometimes we go off, trying to do what others are doing, when what others are doing is not what God gave you to do. And so we have to find out and figure out what is it that He's given me to do, so that I can tap into the thing that I'm supposed to be doing for me in this season and for the life that I'm living, and be purposed by design. And then the last thing is to give attention to it. So oftentimes it doesn't matter who we are, what we're doing. If we don't give attention to the thing that God's given us to do, called us and created us to do, we will find that that thing will never come to manifestation, and we won't find success in it and through it. But if we will drive that engine and we will flow in that lane, we can find success for the thing that God has called and purposed us to do. So the point of getting clear about it is so important. And so I just want to talk about it for a few minutes tonight. And then I want to share some things that are going to be happening coming up in the near future. So there's a quote, and I don't even know where it came from, but I'm always kind of jotting things down. And so it said, you don't have clarity, you generate it. A flash of inspiration is not enough to obtain and maintain a level of clarity. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back, just in case, for the people in the back. You don't have clarity, you generate it. A flash of inspiration is not enough to obtain and maintain a level of clarity. And I began to think about that a little bit, and I'm like, we own to something here. We don't have clarity. You don't have clarity. You don't just, you walk into a room, and now, granted, we can have a moment of revelation when something is shared, but clarity is a process. It's not a destination. And so we generate clarity by working on who we are. And so, of course, I've talked about this and been talking about it since the top of the year. My 5-element framework is the self-work framework that helps you. It helps me, but it helped others to gain clarity, because we have to do some work as individuals in order to find that clarity and get to that place of being clear, because it just doesn't happen. We have to generate that clarity. We have to work to make that clarity come into focus, right? So self-reflection. Super important. If you don't address things that haven't gone well, if you don't address triggers, if you don't address trauma, guess what? You will not be clear, because until you address those things, you don't know why you're having these triggers. You don't know why the trauma is continuing to resurface and reoccur. So it is incumbent upon you to do self-reflection. We don't want to do self-reflection because sometimes that's painful. Going back and, thinking about things and, really kind of doing the work and taking the time to really understand, why did I respond like that? Why, this happened to me. This happened in my life. And so as a result of that, this kind of thing continues to occur. And until we confront it, it does not change. And so that self-reflection is super important. And what the self-reflection then does is help you to be more self-aware, right? That's key. Then that self-awareness then helps you to build your self-knowledge, because as a result of that self-reflection and the self-awareness, now you know yourself better. Then at that point, you can have good self-direction. That's the fourth element. And then number 5, all of that will lead to good self-leadership. So the first thing about this whole clarity piece is the fact that it fosters good decision-making, because, and there are a lot of schools of thoughts out there, and people do however they want to do it. I'm just going to tell you about how I do it. Okay. So there are schools of thoughts out there that say, just go forward, take action, and, you figure it out on your way. That's fine. But that can often be disappointing. It can also be costly, and it can also be very misleading, because number one, when you just jump out there and you start doing stuff, you're spending money, time, and resources. Money you can get back. Time, you can't get that back. So once you have exhausted hours and days and months working on something that you didn't take the time to get clear on, you got to keep backtracking. And the other thing that I've noticed for people who do that, you have to keep adjusting and readjusting and refining. Why? Because you didn't take the opportunity to, number one, establish clarity. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to go. These are some of the things I want to do. Now, I am not saying by any means that you will not have to make some adjustments along the way, because you will. That's what life is about, adjustments. You will have to pivot because life will happen, but it will help you to not have to do it as often. And it will also help you to make good decisions and have good self-leadership along the way. Some people are spontaneous, and spontaneity is okay in its place. But I think everything has a time and a season. And so it's important to get clarity. And when you go through this process, it will help you to get clear and have some understanding about why you're making certain decisions, why you're spending money the way you are, or why you think you should do it this way versus that way. And then you have to take these steps so you can get some feedback and ask questions of people who will be honest with you, so that you don't continue to do the same thing over and over. And I know, just like I do, people who have had 29 different things that they've done, or whatever they've done, they modified it 100 times, because they just keep stepping out there doing it, jumping out there doing it. And that's wonderful for people who have, some people just have that fear of starting. It's one thing to step out there, take action with a plan, or at least with some clarity about where you're going, who you are, and what it is you're supposed to be doing. It's a whole different horse of a different color when you get out there and you haven't given any thought to how you're going to get from revelation to manifestation. Number 2, when we take the opportunity to generate clarity, it helps us to become more self-aware. That self-awareness, folks, is important. Because when we're not self-aware, we don't make good decisions. We do things on the cuff. It costs us more than we should be paying, take us farther than we want to go, and keep us longer than we want to stay, because we didn't take the opportunity to be clear. That can be true about relationships. Take the time to find out who people are. Don't just take what they tell you. And some people say, I don't need to know about your past. Oh, yes, you do. You need to know about where this person comes from. That helps to give you some clarity about who they are. It helps to also give you some level of capacity for what they can offer you, right? And then it gives you some idea of their level of commitment. right? So there are things that are important, and that's whether that's a relationship romantically, a relationship uh, corporately or professionally. It's important to know about where people come from, what caused what made this, what's the makeup of this individual, what it's just like when you um most jobs, you need a resume, even if it's volunteer work or whatever. People want to know, what have you done, what is your experience, right? That's important. People want to know about your past. What have you done? Do you have the experience? Do you have the capabilities? Do you have the commitment, the wherewithal? Did you go to college? Because if you were committed to 4 years of writing papers and taking tests, and you made a decent grade, or you graduated with honors, that says something to the individual who's interviewing you. So it's important. If you made accomplishments along the way, that says something about your drive to succeed. So the past does matter, which is why it's important that you self-reflect. And you don't need to just self-reflect about, you 50 and you self-reflecting on, since you was 20, what you did from 20 to 40 and why, stuff was jacked up. And now you 50 and you just getting your mind right, right? So it's more than that. You need to self-reflect on last week. Self-reflect when you travel, like my trip. What did I do? How much money did I spend? Did I do good? Did I maintain my eating regimen? Self-reflect, because if you can discipline yourself from one phase to another, you find yourself getting on a pace of living life without a lot of distractions. And you don't have to, continue to adjust, readjust, and readjust. All right. Then number three, it helps us to establish wisdom and understanding for our journey, right? So when we have clarity, it helps also when we self-reflect, get self-awareness, better self-knowledge. That's wisdom about you, right? It's just like when we read the word of God, it gives us wisdom about who God is and what he's done and what he will do and who we are in him. Right? It helps us to know who we are as children of God. How do we maintain that relationship as children of God? What happens when we don't maintain that relationship as children of God? So it's important to get clarity. It's the same thing with anything. When we don't take the time to get clear, reading is fundamental. When a person doesn't read, you can tell them anything because they don't read. So it's important that we are clear. So remember this, you don't have clarity, you generate it. We're not born with it. We have to get clear. That's why when children are growing as babies, they're asking questions and they get to that point, everything, every question, everything you say is why. Well, why? Well, why is this? Why is that? Why? Because they're getting clarity. They're getting understanding. They're learning. And as adults, we have to do the same thing. And we have to do it more so when we get to this place of adulthood and we are incorporating, we're leaders and we're business owners and entrepreneurs and we're networking and we're talking to people. You have to be clear about who you are. And so, a lot of people, I've come to understand that a lot of people don't do networking relative to business and entrepreneurship, really do a lot of networking because they're really not clear. Because when you get into spaces and places and in rooms and you're having conversations and you're talking to people, it's important that you're clear about who you are and you're clear about why you are and what it is that you're doing, because people are going to ask questions. So what is it that you do? And so when we fumble that ball, we fumble opportunity, right? We fumble opportunity. We fumble relationships. We fumble the opportunity to collaborate. We fumble collaboration. So there are a lot of things that don't go well when we're not sure. And so it's important that we practice this thing of clarity and we generate it. So what does that mean? You have to do the work. You have to do the work for yourself. So spend some time. I want to encourage you this week to spend some time. Even if you're not a person who journals, if you will type in your phone or type in your computer, I'm a person who journals and writes because I think it is cathartic and therapeutic, and it's really helpful for our brains to maintain the things that we write down. We're more susceptible to remembering those things when we write them down. So that's my method. But I just want to encourage you to take the opportunity to self-reflect. It's so important. I'm telling you, and it will help you in so many ways. I'm going to go back to a teaching, and there's several that I've already done on the self work framework, and there are a couple of different parts. So make sure that you go and you check that out. But it is important. Once again, clarity is not a destination, it's a process. And it's important that we take the time to go through the process so that we can get clear. Once we get clear, we can focus because sometimes we're trying to focus, but there's no clarity. And so it helps us to then go to the next level. It helps us to make good decisions. It helps us to think about the things that causes us to be distracted, that causes us to be triggered, things that we know we can do versus what we can't do. It's like when you leave your home, ladies, to go shopping. Know what you have to spend. Be clear about that. Don't go shopping and you haven't looked at your numbers. You haven't checked your balances. You haven't looked at your card, whether that's $50 or $5,000. Know what your limits are. Because what happens is when we're not clear about what we're working with or why we are going to do the thing we're doing, we get ourselves in trouble. So we overspend. That creates a problem because now we've spent monies that are set aside for responsibilities or should be set aside for responsibilities, or we've spent business funds, or we've spent business funds for personal things, or we've taken personal monies and we spent it for business things. And we, it's convoluted and it gets all, jumbled and crazy. So it's important that we take the time to be clear about the simplest things before we walk out of the door. It's just like before you drive, leave the driveway. Where are you going? Is this a location that you are clear about your route? If not, put the address in your GPS so you're not trying to do that while you're driving. Simple as that. So we have to generate the clarity, right? It's important. So think about that this week and take some time to focus on those kinds of things. And I think, the higher we go with our level of thinking and the more time we take, the clearer we'll be. I know during vacation, I went to Arrowhead Mountain. And so I didn't go all the way to the top. So I have another trip planned so that I can do that and go to a resort on the top of the mountain, all that kind of thing. But long story short, as we were going every round, of course, as they used to say in the church, every round goes higher and higher. Every round we were higher up in the mountain. And so the higher we got up on the ground, it looked hazy. But when we got up higher on that mountain, it was so clear. The side of the mountains, the greenery, the trees, that whole picturesque view was so very clear and beautiful. And so and what I'm saying, we have to go higher in our thinking. We have to take it to another level. And so sometimes we can get complacent and we can get comfortable where we are and we stop thinking, we stop doing the things that helped us to get to the place that we are. But you have to continue to work on that. You have to continue to do the work. And we definitely have to continue to evolve in who we are, which means we have to continue to self-reflect so that we can become self-aware, so that our self-knowledge gets better and we can have better self-direction and be better self-leaders. Our leadership is important. And so we want to make sure that we stay on top of that. Now, I want to invite you to a couple of things that are going to be happening. One of those things is coming up. There are several things. Well, one of the things that's coming up in September 26th and 27th. That is the Emerge 2025. This is a women's 2-day workshop. It is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Rosalind Davis is our host. So definitely go to the socials and make sure that you check in, go to my website, get registered. Registration is only $97 for the 2 days. It is going to be an absolutely phenomenal time. We're going deep. I am going to be going through this entire process on clarity and the self-work framework because it is so important. And I'm telling you, it will help you over and over and over again in so many different ways. And I'm telling you, it will help to foster good decision making. So you don't want to miss that. That's happening right here in Dallas, Texas, at the Hilton Garden Inn. And that is just on the service road in Dallas, Texas. Now, go get registered. Make sure it's on Eventbrite. So you can go to Eventbrite. You can find it. You'll see the host's picture, my picture's there, and then Lori White. And so this is a great team of women. We work well together. And I'm telling you, it is going to be a phenomenal time. Now, Rosalind's going to be a guest next week. So you don't want to miss next week's live because Rosalind is going to be my guest. And so I'm looking forward to talking to her and how she got to this place of hosting the Emerge 2025 conference and workshop. Now, then October 18th, earlier in the year, we had the Visionary Voices Empowerment Circle. And it was truly a phenomenal event. I'm telling you, every person that attended that event was so impacted by what was shared. And it was, I'm just telling you, we touched mindset, we touched clarity, we touched confidence, and then we touched wellness. And so I'm telling you, women learned some things, everybody in the room learned some things that helped them to go to another level. So we want to invite you to the next Empowerment Circle seminar taking place October 18th. That's a Saturday from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. All right. Here again, that is not posted, but it will be posted on our socials and on the website within the next 24 hours. So definitely be looking for that. And then that particular seminar is only $47, of course, during the early bird time frame. So you want to get locked in. This is not this Empowerment Circle Visionary Voices is not a women's event. This is for everybody. It's for Gen Zs. It's for millennials. It's for Gen Xs. It's for baby boomers. It's for everybody. It's for men. It's for women. It's for young men. It's for young women. If you have anything in life that you're aspiring to do and you want transformational change and a shift to happen, you want to be in the room. And I'm telling you, the experience is like no other. It is definitely an experience. So I want to invite you to be a part of the Visionary Voices Empowerment Circle, October 18th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. It's going to be in the same location, and that's at the Urbane Collective at 1301 Custer, and that's in Plano, Texas, Suite 822. But listen, I've enjoyed spending a little time with you tonight, and I hope you will take the opportunity to think about that. You don't have clarity, you generate it. And it takes more than a flash of inspiration. That's not enough to obtain and maintain a level of clarity. So you have to do the work. And remember the self work framework: self reflection, self awareness, self knowledge, self direction. And all of that leads to good self leadership. We'll see you next time for Tuesday Motivation